The food stalls at Queen Victoria Market were just opening on an early Friday morning. Some were still closed, but there was a small Italian bar already open that looked very inviting. I watched the barista working the milk into a creamy foam on a freshly brewed, slightly smoky espresso. After 3 weeks down under, I had already learned that these were the only places with guaranteed good coffee. Italians knew what they were doing. I ordered a cappuccino and sat down at one of the small tables, going through my shopping list, making sure nothing was missing. My plan was to cook dinner for John, who had invited me and organized my stay in Australia, Eric, my host in Melbourne, and their mate Wally. I had met all of them a few years earlier in Poland. Three kind and friendly guys of Polish origin who, despite a big age gap, had become my friends. We had a lot of fun when they came back to visit their homeland. Spaghetti and wine on my balcony. And I was looking forward to repeating that on the other side of the world. The menu was a surprise. Funny enough, Polish cuisine had never really been my thing. At the age of 39, I had cooked only two traditional dishes: barszcz, beetroot soup with majoran and garlic served on Christmas Eve, and bigos, the well known mix of sauerkraut, fresh cabbage, sausage, bacon, and mushrooms, sometimes called the hunter's stew. Even those, very rarely. Trying recipes from all over the world had always been far more interesting. My cappuccino was as good as expected, and I sat there watching the market slowly come to life, locals and tourists filling the space. The list was short enough: a firm white fish, something like cod or halibut, tangerines, oranges, double cream, butter, vegetables, and apples. The vendors were chatty, and the whole thing took much longer than planned. Eventually, with a backpack full of groceries, I set off to Eric's place, where I was staying, a rather fancy apartment on the 44th floor. A half an hour walk on a warm December day felt easy despite the wait. I was excited about cooking. The kitchen was open plan, big and bright, good enough for a TV cooking show. The sauce for the fish would take the most time. I had tasted it for the first time a few months earlier in Poland. Orange and tangerine juice, reduced to a syrup and finished with cream. Sweet and slightly sharp at the same time. It worked surprisingly well with fish and had since become my show-off dish. They won't expect that, I thought, as I took the butter out of the fridge and started on the Szarlotka. That classic apple pie was the only Polish dish I had learned from my mom, who used to be a very good baker, and the only one I kept coming back to. Simple, reliable, and still one of the favorite cakes of Amon, my Irish love. I had adjusted the recipe slightly over time, a bit crispier and a bit quicker. I was cutting the butter into the flour, checking the slowly reducing tangerine juice from time to time. There were still more than 2 hours left, plenty of time. The smell of butter and cinnamon started to fill the kitchen as the pie baked in the oven. Then I heard the door open. They had gone out for a drink before dinner and were already in a good mood. A few bottles of chilled Chardonnay from the Adelaide Hills appeared on the table, Eric's favorite, and a perfect match for what I had planned. By now, the whole apartment smelled of baking. Are you making Szarlotka? All three asked almost at the same time. We spoke English, their Polish was a bit rusty, but they still used that word and knew the smell immediately. I just smiled and opened the oven. It was almost ready. The guys were already sitting at the large table in the open kitchen. My sauce turned out to be the highlight of the evening. The balance of sweet tangerines and slightly sour oranges worked perfectly. They couldn't get over how well it paired with the monkfish. We were talking, laughing, enjoying the time together, but I knew they were waiting for the Polish part of the feast. Every now and again, someone glanced at the cake sitting on the counter. And then it was time. Still slightly warm with a crisp top. They didn't need much convincing. And for a moment, it felt a bit like home, just somewhere else.